All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for coming in. Sipo, please take it away.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kalu. A very good afternoon, everyone. I am in Cape Town, South Africa, hence good afternoon. It's very good to be back on this platform, so thank you very much for having me here. And we're going to start today's session with a meditation, and then we'll go into a check-in just to set the tone for the next hour. So I'm going to invite you just to sit back in your chair. Place your feet flat on the ground and feel the ground beneath your feet, underneath your feet. And also just feel and connect with the chair. Connect with the support of the chair. You can also just gently close your eyes or soften your gaze, whatever you choose, and feel your body just let go and relax even further. And continue to breathe. And as you breathe, I invite you to bring your attention to each and every part of your body that is touching the chair that you are sitting on in this moment. Feel that support from the chair, from your sitting bones, your legs, your back. Really connect with the chair. Connect with the parts of the body that are touching the chair. Staying connected to your breath. I'm going to invite you now to bring your attention and your awareness to your body. Just check in with yourself. How are you feeling in this moment? How's your body feeling? Are you feeling energized? Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling relaxed? Is your body feeling tight? Just check in with yourself, observing what is coming up as you listen to the body. And lastly, I'm going to invite you now to bring your attention and your awareness to your mind, to your thoughts, to your headspace. What is happening in your mind this morning, this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world? Is your mind busy? Is your mind planning? Is your mind ticking off a list of to-dos? Is your mind relaxed? Is your mind present in this moment? Again, just become aware. And as you become aware, I invite you to park and put aside anything that is in your mind that you do not need in the next hour. Put aside anything that does not serve you for the next hour. Or just let go completely of anything that you do not need at all. And once you've done that, become aware of anything that you want to hold on to for the next hour. Any thoughts, any ideas, just become aware of those. And now we're going to set an intention. I'm going to invite you to set an intention for the next hour or two. Where would you like to direct your energy? What do you want more of from yourself, for yourself. And as you connect with your intention, let's take 3 breaths in through the nose, gently releasing that breath with a beautiful sigh through the mouth. 2 more times at your own pace, at your own time. And on that last breath, you can gently come back into the space. And then I'm going to invite you for a check-in. And we're going to go around the screen. And just to remind you of our check-in, it's what we call pies. So we're going to check in physically, intellectually or mentally, emotionally and spiritually. I will go first. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sipokazi Kwakweni, and I'm mentioning my name again as a form of grounding into the space, into this moment. Physically, I feel good. I had 2 classes of yoga this morning, so I did manage to release some tension. And intellectually, my mind is here. My mind is very curious, and I'm looking forward to this dialogue. Emotionally, I'm very happy. My sister that I've not seen in over a year is in town. I had the opportunity to pick her up this afternoon. And spiritually, I am forever grateful. And with that, I check in. I'm going to hand over to Kalu, and then Kalu, after you, you can hand over to anyone that you wish to hand over to.
I am Kalu Osiri. Physically, I feel strong and healthy. Intellectually, I am excited. I just left a research meeting where we are designing solutions for Africa. Emotionally, I am excited. I'm happy. I'm great. Actually, my mom just came to spend time with me. In fact, she decided to move back in here with me. So I'm now living with my mom again. You can say that. So I feel great to have my mom here with me. And spiritually, I feel connected to the universe, feel connected to the people that I love and those who love me. So, and with that, I check in. I hand over to Dr. Amarachi Amugo.
Hi, my name is Amarachi Amalgo, and physically I feel strong. Intellectually, I feel stimulated. So just like Carlo, I've also left a research meeting and I feel quite elated about it. Emotionally, I feel really happy. I feel excited. I've embarked on a number of projects of which I'm excited about. Spiritually, I feel eternally grateful. And with that, I check out.
Yes, I am Paul Easterling. Physically, I feel strong and capable. Intellectually, I feel creative. Mentally, I feel relaxed. Spiritually, I feel connected. Connected in a very broad sense.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the check-in. And before we start the conversation, so how was it to start with a short meditation and grounding and rooting and just checking in with yourself, becoming fully present? How was that exercise for you?
I like it. I like it. I think it's important to ground yourself in the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Paul.
So just like Paul, sometimes we get carried away with so many things around us, and it kind of brings that sort of focus and awareness about everything around us. And it's nice to appreciate that, because rather than going with the flow, but just being in a moment, like he said.
Hello?
Yes, it's just a great way to keep us focused in the present, because many times, especially with the Zoom meetings, you can come in a Zoom meeting, but you have a lot of distractions around you, whether it's the children running around or somebody giving you a sign somewhere trying to gain your attention.
Right.
um, but that checking in allows me to be fully present and enjoy the moment, and allows me to really appreciate the people that I'm so ever privileged to be connected with right now in the moment. People who are spending my time, who I'm spending time with right now. I think for me, it's a privilege to be on this platform right now with you, Sipo, with Dr. Paul Easterling, with Dr. Amarachi, with Janisha, Francis, and everyone, and all the audience members who are here. Just being here, it's nice. So that's how I feel about the check-in.
Thank you. And I think two things that you've mentioned, obviously, if you're coming from one meeting to another, it is an opportunity to really let go of the previous meeting, so that you are fully present in this moment. Hence the opportunity just to clear the mind and to park whatever you don't need for this conversation. And we also spoke about the present moment. And if you really think about it, it is the only moment that we have right now, because the past is gone, the meeting that you've had is gone, you're not going to have that experience again. And in reality, in the next hour, this meeting will be gone and we'll not have this experience again. So again, gives us the opportunity to really zoom into and really focus in the present moment, which is all we have in actual fact, because even tomorrow is not here yet. This evening is not here yet, so it really boils down to the present moment.
Great. So I know Dr. Paul Easterling and Dr. Amarachi Amogo will have some questions for you, Sipo, but I'd like to begin by just thanking you for coming last time to share your knowledge about yoga and meditation, and basically couching those two pillars under the umbrella of mindfulness. That's one of the ways we can be mindful. And after your time with us, I was inspired to pursue yoga myself. So I went on and got a certification to become a yoga trainer. And I even started attending your classes, the one that you organize, and it's done marvelous work, in my life, I have to say. I look forward to attending your yoga sessions on Mondays and on Thursdays. It's 11 a.m. my time. I know it's evening in South Africa, so around 6, I think 6 in South Africa, but it was 10 a.m. Monday and Thursday Central, but it's changed now to 11 a.m. But anyway, I really look forward to it. And what that has done for me is it allowed me to just feel healthier, and feel much more calmer. Anyway, and I thought if I'm benefiting from this, it would be great to have you come and continue to share this with my colleagues at Osiri University. And so this is why we are here. Now, I'd like for you to maybe talk a little bit more about the fact that we're going to be doing some of these things on a monthly basis, and how we can incorporate yoga and meditation into our lives and have it be very pervasive throughout our lives. So.
Great. Thank you very much, Kalu. And it's been great having you in my community under Yoga Love online. I really do enjoy, and you can see also from the community as well, they always enjoy having you in the class as well. And so, since then, the plan is for us to introduce a monthly yoga session for an hour every last Saturday of the month. So the very first one will actually be happening next week, this time at 4 o'clock. And really, this is why I'm here. It's to really introduce the practice that we'll be doing from next week. And this time we want, I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about, obviously, there's a lot of talk around yoga, you know, coming from India, coming from Asia, you know, and there's very little that is spoken about yoga in Africa. And through my conversations with Kalu, actually, he's the one who introduced me to Kemetic yoga. And the intention for the sessions is to actually start bringing this to light and bringing our awareness to the origins of yoga as well in the African continent. And I mean, understanding exactly what it then meant, what it means, and what it meant for us Africans. And I think just from my curiosity and just from the little reading I have done, and again, comparing it to what I know and what I have been taught, and you're right, I mean, in my studies, actually, they don't talk about yoga and Africa. You know, all we hear about is Asia and India. And it was actually my very first time really understanding about the origins of yoga within the continent, specifically from Egypt. But then again, if I link it to the other cultures of yoga, I think for me, which is my personal view, it's just like religion, you know? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, if you look at every religion, if you look at all these principles, sometimes you get to realize that we're all trying, you know, we're all trying to achieve the same thing.
Right. But
we just call it different things. It's the same goal, you know? Right. And what's been very interesting about Kemetic yoga is, I mean, again, just like other principles of yoga and other cultures of yoga, there's a focus in physical movement. And the specific African then yoga poses, which are also quite similar to other cultures, but they just called something different, you know? And I'll give you an example, actually. There's one called the Sebek pose, and that's the Kemetic word for it. And in the yoga that I practice, which is Hatha, it's called the pigeon pose, you know? So again, it's the same pose, just called something different. And then there's also a focus in the breathing techniques, and specifically for Kemetic, and again, this is what we're going to be practicing in our monthly classes and deepening our understanding of it. So there's the breathing technique, and they call it the four, sorry, I just want to go to my notes so that I don't divert. It's called the rule of four breathing, and it's as simple as we inhale, hold the breath, you exhale, you hold the breath. Inhale, hold the breath, exhale, hold the breath. So let's try that, you know, just for a couple of seconds. So again, sitting nice and tall. So you're going to inhale at your own pace until you get to the top of your breath, or up until you can't inhale anymore. Pause, and then exhale, emptying out your lungs, pause, and inhale again. I'm gonna count us and just find your own pace, find your own rhythm. And let's begin. So let's take a nice, slow, deep breath in. Pause. And exhale. Pause. Let's inhale. Pause. Let's exhale. Let's inhale. And let's pause at the top. Let's exhale. And pause. So that's basically the technique that you use. So as you move through a pose, let's say you're holding a pose, then you connect with your breath. So following that same rhythm. So breathing in, holding the breath, and out as you hold the pose. Welcome, Melens. Great. And then the other focus of Kemetic yoga is meditation. So again, it's all about the present moment. It's about bringing your mind into the current moment through your breath and just focusing. Now, one of the things that always discourages people when it comes to meditation, we seem to think the whole purpose of meditation is to stop our mind from thinking. And when you can't stop your mind from thinking, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And then you just give up, right? And one of the things I like to highlight is that the mind is not going to stop to think, because that's what the mind does. It will think, it will constantly think. And ours is to really become aware of this. And the one way to bring our mind to focus is to when you focus on your breath. So again, let's try that. So if you continue to breathe, and when you're focusing on your breath and the flow of your breath, you are silencing your mind from the noise because your mind is now focusing on one thing. So let's do that again. And maybe what happens when you get to your third breath, a thought comes in. And again, the idea is just to become aware of your thought coming in, letting it go, and bringing your mind back to your breath. Now, like all things in life, everything is a process. You know, the more we practice it, the better it becomes. So we're not going to still the mind within the first class of meditation. The more we practice it, the better it becomes. And again, I mean, it's something that you practice on the mat, and then you ask yourself, but now how does this help me in my real life? And as Kalu has mentioned, you know, you practice breathing on the mat, you practice gentleness on the mat, you take it slowly when you're moving. And then it translates into your real life when you're engaging with people, you know, so when you then remember, be gentle. One of the things I always highlight in my practice is the whole notion of being gentle with yourself. Be kind to yourself. You know, love your body, appreciate your body. And I believe when we spend time building that, it becomes easy for us to be gentle with other people, to be kind to other people. As they say, it all starts with us. You know, it all starts for you to love anyone or to love anything. It must start with you. And I also believe you can't give what you don't have. So you can't give love if you don't have love for yourself. You can't give gentleness to other people if you don't have it for yourself. And the beauty of yoga and meditation, it really allows us the opportunity to go within, to start with us. And once we strengthen those muscles with us, then we become kinder people, we become more happier people, and we're able to relate to others. I'm going to leave it there for now, and just to obviously start the conversation so that I'm not talking alone. Any questions for now?
No, it wasn't really a question, more of a follow-up, because one of my concerns with meditation has always been the monkey mind, right? The mind constantly moving and constantly chattering. You know, I have a song playing when I have thoughts of what I'm going to do later on today. I've got what I'm going to eat in an hour or so. You know, I have a lot of, you know, and what you said, you know, addresses that pretty well. Is, you know, it's not really trying to stop it, because that's what the mind does. You know, it moves, it shakes, it, you know, it's trying to make sense of the world around it. But you know, just, you know, focusing on breath helps your mind to center itself, I guess, is the best way I can explain it. So yeah, thank you. That you addressed my question, one of my questions directly. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Dr. Paul, at times, if you sit long enough, eventually the monkey mind will stop. And they always say, you know, when somebody says, I don't have time to meditate, that's when you know you need actually then a lot of time.
Right.
So you see, your last statement there actually brings me to the next question about how you can find time. So my question is in two parts. So first of all, someone is considering going into being a yoga trainer, just like Kanu has done. So they're saying, I can find the time to do that, because I'm sure you have to fit in a couple of hours, I think 200 hours or more into your training. And then the second half of the question is for someone not necessarily thinking about going in as a trainer, but just finding time for meditation. So what would your advice be? How can people find time amidst the busyness, you know, of life and the day to actually focus and stop, you know, be in the present?
Great. So I think one of the things, I may have shared it in our last conversation here, is first of all, nobody owns time. None of us own time here. That's the reality, first and foremost. We have to create time. And I think one of the things that becomes a challenge is when you're planning on doing something, sometimes we think, oh, I must have an hour for it, you know? So we want to plan big, we want to start big rather than starting small, you know? So to answer your second question first would be, even a minute of meditation is something. You'll be very surprised how long a minute is in stillness. In actual fact. And I know it because there'll be times where I'm teaching class, especially I'm teaching yin yoga, which is basically where you spend 3 to 5 minutes in a pose, you know? And at times I'm even in it and I'm like, I regret saying to the class that we're going to be here for 5 minutes because damn, I'm dying, you know, because even the minute is too long for me, you know? So even a minute, whether it's 5 minutes, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy, you know, at your desk, just having a moment of silence, closing your eyes. And at times people also think that you need to be in some temple or some fancy place for meditation. Today, I was teaching a yoga class and it's at a gym, but we do it outside. And there were people who were exercising just outside and they were chatting and they were making a noise, you know? And it would have been easy to get irritated. And a part of me was like, I wanted to tell them to keep quiet, but I also realized it was my opportunity to practice stillness no matter the noise. And I did. And 10 minutes later, they were done with the exercise, they were gone, and there was stillness. You know? So again, everything is a process. Whether it's a minute, whether it's 5 minutes, just start and get it done, you know? And then to come back to your first question around, you know, the time that goes into into becoming a teacher. I mean, when I did my studies in 2019, I've got a full-time job. I'm a single parent, and luckily where I did it, they were offering it in the weekend, so on a Saturday and Sunday. So again, I could be home chilling. I could be attending the markets. I stay in the winelands in Cape Town. I could be going to the winelands, but I chose to make time. I chose to sacrifice my time and go sit in class every Saturday, every Sunday from 10 to 4 o'clock, you know, because I really wanted that. Same thing with the practice. Again, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, you know. Coming into a child's pose for 5 minutes is yoga. Sitting still for 5 minutes is meditation, you know. Focusing on your breath for a minute is good enough. And one thing that I always encourage in my practice is to make it your own. So for me, it's not about you doing what I'm doing. You know, our bodies are different. All I'm doing is holding space, creating space, a safe space for people just to express themselves, you know, to indulge in their breath. And I always highlight, in reality, our life begins and ends with breath. With our breath, we are nothing. And yet, I'm sure it's the one thing that we never pay attention to. You know, if we were to stop breathing now, you would die, you know? And our breath, and I like to highlight the benefit that comes with our breath. Our breath carries life energy, the stuff that keeps us alive. You know, the stuff that makes the body function. It powers your heart. It powers your skeletal muscles. You know, it powers the systems of the body. So when you understand that, it's as good as putting on the light so that there's light in the room. It's as good as putting on your computer so that you are able to do whatever you need to do. So when you spend time in breath, especially first thing in the morning, it's like you are bringing power, you're igniting the power within the body so that your body can function throughout the day.
I was just, you know, picking up based on the chat. I'm sure you're seeing someone writing, Honey saying, I'm so surprised to see an African in this field. And that was my first impression when you came on board the last time, because we think it's a white culture thing or an Asian thing, just like he's saying. So, but then he's saying, you should inform his ignorance. Is it something healthy and fun to do? So maybe you want to shed some light on, you know, the fun side, healthy side of it, because some people would never do something except there's fun in it, or except there's a healthy benefit to them. Yes.
And let me also quickly add, because I was actually going to have Malens also respond to that, because she and I have been discussing this particular issue. So yeah, Sipo, if you don't mind, address that question, and then Malines, please also chime in about with regards to that.
Yes, absolutely. So how I'd like to answer that question is to perhaps share my own journey, how I discovered yoga. And you're right. I mean, even here in South Africa, yoga is seen as a white thing. I've had so many people say to me, oh my gosh, you do yoga? Why yoga? It's so white, you know? And first and foremost, the reason why I became a teacher was to change that narrative, you know? And purely because, especially in South Africa, there's a lot of things that even going hiking, sometimes we might say, oh, that's such a white thing to do. And I believe that's really a limiting belief that we have as Africans. And in the context of South Africa and probably in Africa, and especially when we speak about land, which I know is a very sensitive topic, especially in our context, I always say that if we always are highlighting things and say this, that's for white people, then we'll never have anything as Africans. We'll never own anything because we just give up the power, you know, to another race, you know. And I believe anyone and everyone can be whatever they want to be, you know, and we shouldn't be limited by such beliefs. So anyway, how I discovered yoga, again, it was through exercise. You know, so I used to be a big gym fanatic, aerobics and all of that, but there came a time where I wanted something a bit calmer, a bit slower, but still giving me the benefits of fitness. So that's how I discovered yoga. So it was almost like a slower version of aerobics. And the more I did it, the more I realized, okay, this is good on the body, you know, in such a way that, you know, when you've got an on and off relationship with the gym, you know, when you decide to go back to gym, you start, and within the first day of gym, your body is sore and you're like, no, I'm not going back, you know? So I found yoga to be more gentle to the body. So you don't get a culture shock when you go back to gym and your body is all stiff, you know? Yoga was more gentler. So that's how I was introduced to yoga. And when I moved to Cape Town from Johannesburg, I realized there was a big community of yoga in Cape Town. And that's how I deepened my practice. I mean, so there's hot yoga. So you go into a heated room. What do they call it? I forgot the name, but it's obviously turned to hot yoga. I'm not going to think because my mind.
Sauna.
Sorry, Bikram yoga. Sorry, it was called Bikram yoga, but obviously now it's called hot yoga. So I've tried different kinds of yogas, but I think when I deepened my curiosity, I fell in love with the philosophy of yoga, and the spirituality of yoga and the self-discovery that comes with yoga, the opportunity to really go within and really understand yourself, understanding your body. And from that point, you are able then to make good choices for yourself. And my biggest goal was to then share this, you know, with people. And again, mine was to actually surprise people so that people can realize that actually it's not a white thing. Anyone can become a yogi or a yoga teacher or can practice yoga. So that really has been my goal. The fun part of it is that, for me, again, people always say, but I don't want to do yoga, I'm not flexible. And the idea is not to be flexible. You don't go into yoga because you are flexible. For me, it's about longevity. It's about preserving your body. It's about protecting your body from injuries. It's about working with the body from inside. Now imagine when you're going to gym, right? When you're going to gym, you probably have signed up to the notion of that you want a certain body shape or a certain body size, or you want a physique. It's all external, right? Because media has showed us that, you know, you must be skinny to do yoga, you must be this, you know. So for me, it's not that. It's a work in, you know. So when you are breathing, you are ensuring that each and every cell within your body, and we've got gazillions of those cells, are getting the oxygen, the nutrients that your body is supposed to get. And when that happens, you are powering and you are really cleansing the body. You are ensuring that your body is operating at optimal from inside. And then with the movement, it's like keeping the body mobile. So imagine you are sitting at your desk the whole entire time, the whole day, and you're just typing away. And you spend all your time like that. What happens? The body dries up. You become like this and you become stiff, you get back pains and so on. But with movement and yoga is to make sure that the body keeps mobile. You are lubricating your joints. And the older we get, our joints get tight, they creak, and they all dry because you are always staying in one position. So for me, the benefits of it, it's longevity. It's like a door. You know, if you don't use a door, eventually it tightens and it creaks. So it's keeping your body healthy and working so that you can continue to have this life experience within the body.
Thank you very much. Malance, please go ahead and share a few things as it pertains to yoga and its relation to Africa.
Hi everyone, how are you? I would say yoga pertaining to Africa. I mean, yoga was founded in Africa. In ancient Kemet, we have the oldest references of yoga in the world. And oops. And can you hear me? Yeah, you guys are muted now. Okay. So it's correct what you were discussing before. A lot of people don't know that, but I think generally a lot of people, including Black people, Africans, have very little knowledge about African history. And I think it's our responsibility to educate ourselves on all aspects of African history so we can actually share it with the world and also prevent what I consider a cultural theft of the 21st century, of a practice that took thousands of years to develop. I personally always refrain from partaking in that realm because I consider it a realm of, no disrespect, I think it's amazing and it's very healthy, but it's also a realm of scammers because there's no other job that you can acquire in 200 after 200 hours where you can become certified. Not even a nail esthetician, something as simple as cutting nails, requires further education. I mean, after 4 weeks, you telling me you're an instructor of philosophy that took millennia to formulate. And I feel it's such a disrespect to melanated people. Indians indeed have been the custodians of this knowledge, because we have to understand the history, Kush, and at some point India was part of that empire. So there was a lot of knowledge exchange. And back in the days, this knowledge was actually paid for in gold. We find the gold of Mansa Musa in the temples of Kerala today, and knowledge was paid for with gold. And there was a lot of knowledge exchange. We know about herbs and spices. We actually don't know about this level of exchange that was traded between Africa and India. A hobby or something. It's a way of life. Yoga is not a hobby. Yoga is not something that has to be fun or this or that. It's a way of life, and I think that's how Black people ought to perceive it. Black people are wired in a spiritual sense already by ways of melanin. Melanin is beyond everything. It's a God molecule. It's the technology. So you breathing yoga the moment you're born. As a Black person, you're breathing spirituality. You're embodying spirituality naturally. But what the ancient people of Kemet have done, they've created a system. It's called the Smaitawi. And what we know from India, who have been really practitioners and custodians of this practice and developed it further, that's why I feel they are 100% entitled to claim this, because they've really lived it. Basically, the Smaitawi is represented in a lot of hieroglyphics that we see. It's the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, but ultimately the higher and the lower self, right? And channeling the energy from the ether through your crown chakra and channeling the energy from the earth through your root chakra, right? And even the entire mythology of Osiris that we also discussed, going into the underworld, overcoming his lower self, Set, Satan, his brother, or his lower self, and then the rebirth as Horus, Heru, Jesus Christ, whatever you want to call it, the version that has left the lower self, that has has mastered the lower self. That's ultimately Smaitawi. And the idiocracy, when I see anybody with a rubber mat, is rubber isolates, right? And in yoga, you sitting in certain positions in order to connect your root chakra with the energy of the earth. Yeah, the earth has an electromagnetic field, a certain frequency, and you pull this up through your root chakra and start to embody that. And hence this Lululemon yoga cult, yoga scam. That's just like, it's so retarded. And I feel as Black people, we have to raise our voices because presently it's happening right in front of our eyes. We're not in shackles. We're not enslaved. We're not colonized. Yeah, possibly. I'm sure we're colonized in our minds to certain extents, but it's happening in front of our eyes. We're something that Black people put a lot of effort into developing this through like many millennia. This wasn't developed over 2-3 generations. This was developed over millennia. I created a platform where these things can happen. I built a beautiful sanctuary right opposite the Pyramid of Osiris, with a beautiful yoga deck overlooking the pyramids in order to reintroduce this narrative that's inwardly ours, you know, and to support it through the visuals, not just visuals that are very gimmicky or look like Halloween costumes, because we have yoga practitioners, also Black yoga practitioners, but we never see yoga being practiced in its original context and space. You know, we see it then, I don't know, a polyester print of an ankh or something. You know, we don't actually see it in the temple. So I felt that has to happen in order to switch something in people's minds, because as some people raised here the valid perception, yeah, I didn't even know it was a Black thing. So we started to do that with a friend of mine who's a Kemetic yoga practitioner. And I use the word practitioner because I will never call anybody a teacher when you've done something for 4 weeks. You don't even instruct somebody to ride a bicycle after 4 weeks of doing this yourself. You know, you would not call yourself a driving instructor or anything after 4 weeks. So hence I call them yoga practitioners. A friend of mine, she's a yoga practitioner. Some may know her, Sarah West, because it's a very small community. So the ones who do it, it's like you may know her. And we started doing yoga, or I started capturing her doing yoga in this context, and the images were extremely powerful. CNN picked it up, they did something about it, and so did others. I also created a yoga collection because I realized, okay, how can I tell the narrative? For me, it's telling the narrative. It's about educating people. How can I tell the narrative of the true narrative of yoga? Usually it's best told through a product, right? Because people connect to products more than they connect nowadays to a history book. You know, you buy an item and you want to know what's the philosophy behind it, what's the company philosophy, and then obviously the visuals and the campaign shot in front of the pyramids in the yoga poses, in the same poses that you actually see on temple walls, you know, in Egypt. That builds the bridge into the 21st century. And obviously, like, needless to say, it's Black people doing this, right? So and also using Adinkra symbols, because we know the demographic movement of the Akan people from Kemet, you know, so there's a lot of parallels between the hieroglyphics and the Adinkra symbols to really, yeah, find a way to translate that in the 21st century beyond the practice. So because people may wonder, why do I even have an opinion about something that I don't consider myself? I'm definitely not a yogi. I don't practice. Well, I practice the lifestyle, but not what we now define as yoga. I don't take yoga class or any of that. Well, sometimes I do with Sarah West, the Kemetic yoga classes, because obviously I live by many of these principles, you know. So that's actually my what I have to add to this conversation, some food for thought. I think it's important that we have yoga practitioners like yourself, taking up space. I think Black people need to take up space, because otherwise it's a very big industry. It's $1 billion industry, the yoga market, quote unquote. And Black people obviously are not seeing none of it. So I feel it's important for Black people to take up space, because it's our heritage, it's our philosophy, and we need to claim it. And if we don't claim it, somebody else will. And when we see people claim land or mineral resources more tangible, I think we should make it a course at Osiri, because it's an African wisdom technology, and it should be offered by an African university,
I agree. I was familiar with the Egyptian or Kemetic yoga years ago, though I've never practiced. I had similar issues with my lens, just kind of not knowing where to go or who to trust. So I studied, on my own. But that's one of the authors that always popped up when we searched for African yoga is Muwata Ashby. He's done a lot of work on that stuff for years. He's been doing it for a number of years now. So for panelists and for attendees, there's if you want some reference to what Malens was referring to and the history, Sifo was also talking about Kemetic yoga. There's some reference right there.
Thank you.
All right, so Sifo, this is, I think, again, we are very excited to have you lead Kemetic yoga sessions at Osiri University, so that even while we are developing the courses, we are actually going to be practicing it as a university, which is what you're going to help us do every last Saturday of the month. So could you tell us how we should be prepared? How can we come prepared? Next week, we're going to start next week, right? Next Saturday, the same time. How can we come prepared to practice this? Now, before you answer this, let me also quickly say that we'll also love to invite you maybe to work with us. Malens is going to connect us to Sarah West, so it would be good to develop a faculty, right? So we have an army of Africans who are leading this charge. So this becomes a platform where people can actually come and learn Kemetic yoga from trusted folks. So keep that at the back of your mind as we move along. So go ahead.
I think we should have all the authorities, because there's definitely people who've led the way and have been practicing this now for years or decades, and I respect that. As you just already put in the chat, he's one of the pioneers in Baba Yisr, and we should have all of these people become part of the faculty, because I feel if we operate in one little Black person there and one little Black dot there, no, we need to come as a collective, to give it a little bit of weight and density.
This is great.
Yeah, and the connections exist because of the sanctuary I built, where I wanted to give these people a container to now practice it, not in some fitness studio or in a yoga shala. So I wanted people to be able to actually practice this right on temple ground, original temple ground in Kemet, in front of the pyramids of Osiris. So hence I built relationships with some of these practitioners, so I will definitely encourage them to become practitioners in this faculty.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Malens, for your insight. I think it's made me even more and more curious. And I think, Kalu, for me, the very first thing that I need to declare is that I'm definitely not a guru. I'm just a curious being. And my biggest goal with this is to, again, change the narrative. And my biggest goal is to really bring curious minds together. And it is definitely a lifelong learning journey. And yeah, and I think the purpose of the platform is to bring people who are also like-minded, who are curious, want to really understand the philosophy, the lifestyle, and really where it comes from, and for us to actually take ownership and make it our own rather than subscribing
Exactly.
what the world,
Take ownership.
to take ownership rather than subscribing to what the world says it should be, and understanding different perspectives. So for next week, I mean, really the idea is for people just to come wearing whatever they are comfortable in. Obviously, it must be clothing that's comfortable for movement. It can be sweatpants, tights, t-shirt, again, whatever is going to be most comfortable for you. If you've got a mat, you can bring a mat. If you're going to be on the grass, you can, again, make it your own. The one thing that I always like to emphasize is that with my practice, I'm definitely not prescriptive. Again, it is about creating the space, the safe space for people to explore their curiosity. The one thing that I resonate very well with, especially with Kemetic yoga, is the spirituality, linked to it. And I say this especially with intention, because you find in modern day yoga, it's about fitness, and if you touch onto the spirituality, which is why even with the check-in, I go into spirituality. So how are you feeling spiritually? Because at times people may feel that, okay, that might be a bit all hocus pocus. But again, for me, my biggest thing is that, the universe is within us, in actual fact. And it's not something that's out there that we're supposed to be chasing and having people dictate to us what it is. And what I really want from this practice is for people to really tap into the universe that resides within them. And that's where self-discovery begins. And again, we're all going to be learning from this experience. I'm definitely not coming here as somebody to tell you what it is about. I'm here to learn just as everybody else. So bring comfortable clothes, have a mat. I mean, I normally do mine in the lounge right here. I stay in a 2-bedroom apartment. So I just move the furniture and I just get onto it. So again, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, especially as you're starting, and that's how I that's how I'm continuously deepening my practice, is just through curiosity and taking advantage of every platform that actually helps me deepen my practice.
In yoga, actually working with energy is electricity. So you do not want to isolate yourself from the ground. Obviously, if you're in a high rise, fair enough, that doesn't really hold, but originally you would practice it on the ground. So if you use a mat, do not use a rubber mat. That's some utter nonsense, the evolution of a gym practice, and that's why we see yoga mats now being made of extremely toxic rubbers. Not just isolate you. Use something that's padded or comfortable. And I think that's also something we should make available through Osari University. Equipment that's actually making sense and not just feeding $1 billion industry, sheep leading other sheep. We should really differentiate or as Osari University lead people into a little bit enlightenment with that. And I think there's also a yoga practitioner in South Africa. Well, maybe it's you, I don't know. I just know, are you the instructor of Sarah West? No, but there's a woman where she went to learn from. You probably would know her, a Kemetic yoga practitioner. Maybe we should also get her on board.
Do you know her name?
Certainly, yeah. we should do the research and get all of them on board. So this has been a wonderful conversation. Dr. Amarachi Amogo, please go ahead and close us out.
All right. I just want to thank everyone. Sipo, I just thank you again for coming. It's always a very stimulating session with you. And for one of our elders at Osiri University, always a pleasure to have Malens join us today. So thank you. I mean, she is someone that doesn't stick to the status quo, and she's a no-nonsense kind of person, and that's the vibe I get from her. So thank you for coming. And for all our attendees as well, it's always a pleasure to have you. For me, I would try yoga. I'll try. All right. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Ubuntu.
Bye.